Good evening, everyone. I hope my voice is audible to all of you. May I get a quick confirmation over the chat box? Am I audible? Awesome, awesome. So really good attendance today. So everyone is worried about the exam since it's 9th of November. But before I begin with our game changer series or marathon or case study hack, whatever you want to call it as, uh, may I know what's the update on Ultimate Planner? How many of you are following it? How many of you have reached where you should have reached by far in your Ultimate Planner? Not really. One day behind. Okay. So I guess many of you have actually followed the planner. Okay. So the people who've just done one day or they have just yet followed with the one lecture, I believe that you should put a lot of effort now because one day would mean that, okay, next day you would be in the guilt of the first day that I didn't cover up the first day, and then you would be in the second day, you'll be again in guilt for the first day, then you will miss the second day also, then the second day will be missed, then third day you'll be guilt in for the first and the second day both. That's how usually what happens in a student life, and that's just not you, it has happened to me also. So I know this happens, but we should understand that this is high time that now we should be very consistent. Now there is no point of being lethargic. There's no point of being scared. And I see many questions. The team, the TA Tejas, he keeps on telling me that many students are scared, like afraid that, ma'am, they are totally going like crazy that once they see the questions or they see the question debriefs, and I see the messages on the general groups as well, not just the groups which you're part of. uh okay, anyway, the video and audio, just listen to me what I'm saying. But the point is that it is very much possible to be scared of what you've been doing. It's very much possible and difficult to actually adapt to the exam kit. I told you this beforehand, didn't I? Just tell me, didn't I tell you this before, that you will actually be worrying about how to adapt ourselves with the exam kit? So now that's the time, it has come. So I told you before that this will come, but then I also told you that this will pass by. The time you reach, like you've done Ultimate Planner, you're done with the 50% of the exam kit, you are halfway through your Ultimate Planner, you'll feel relaxed. But now if you do not actually if you are not actually working towards the planner, then of course nobody can save you on that, because then of course there won't be any I would say savior coming at the end. Because if you're feeling that I am lacking in my adaptability right now, then if you don't work now, then how will you actually cope up with it towards the end when the exam is just near and round the corner? So that was not going to happen. So it's very, very important that you actually follow the Ultimate Planner wherever you are in your syllabus preparation, done with it, not done with it. I don't care. You should also don't care. We should start with the kit now. Okay, so whatever has happened. Start with the Ultimate Planner. So if you're 3 days behind, so you will complete 3 days later. Fine, okay, no worries at all. We'll complete the Ultimate Planner. We'll start with the day one. And if we are 3 days behind, if my planner is until 20th, you will complete it in 23rd. Okay, no problems, right? So I've kept some buffer for you. So let's not be like, oh no, I'll start tomorrow 9 a.m. and then when it is 9:01 and you're like, no, now today I can't do it. I'll start it tomorrow only now because it's 9:01 already. Then you say, I will start with Monday. And then you realize, no, this is Tuesday. Now let me start with Monday only. So stop that now. We don't have the time for it. Today means today. After the class, the people who are international students, if you have a long day ahead, study. Go with your ultimate planner. Indian students, tomorrow, wake up 6 a.m., 7 a.m. What are you doing? Exam is around the corner. We don't have time now. Okay. So on that note, let's start with our session today. And we are going to focus on our case study hacks. I will also post this video. Anyway, you guys are the people who have enrolled with me. But we will also post this video on YouTube. So I've kept it like, till I complete, I'll keep it like a monologue and then I'll put off the recording. Then you guys can talk as well. So don't feel like that ma'am is not letting us talk. I would love that you talk in the class, but since it's going on YouTube, so some people might think that they do talk a lot in their classes. So let's not give them that impression. Okay, so I will make this PDF with you. I had an idea. I thought, let me make it, before I start with the session. But then I thought that uh, when you do your exam, you don't have like a PPT, you don't take notes along with you. You always do it spontaneously. You get a question, which is a surprise question to you solve it, and then you pass or you fail. So as a tutor, I feel that even I should be capable of doing that. So if I see a new question in front of me, or if I have to teach a new topic, I should be ready to do it, whether or not I have actually prepared the notes for it or PPTs for it. So I thought, let me prepare this, let me do this marathon and case study hack video with you spontaneously. So we are going to do it very spontaneously and focus on our uh, case study hacks. Meanwhile, I'll always keep on asking you. If you have any doubts, you can ask it in the chat box. Okay, now you guys have done SBR. You are done with your standards. You're done with your group accounts. You're done with many questions as per the ultimate planner by far. At least you should have done like at least 5 questions you should have done. And now you know what SBR is. So I'm not going to tell you what is SBR, how you pass it. I'm not going to tell you the format of the paper. You know it already. Let's be very honest. I might have forgotten it, but you know it already. Anyway, so let's just get started and let's check out what all we have here. So secret sauce to pass SBR. What is this secret sauce? What do you mean by secret sauce? Is it something that I'm cooking? No, I'm not cooking. But I should know as a student that when I'm sitting for the paper, I should know the pros, or you can say the strengths and the weaknesses of the paper. What is the strength of this exam? The strength, what do you believe is the strength of this exam? You've given so many papers in ACCA. Just tell me, be interactive on the chat box at least. What do you think is the strength of this paper? Okay, Lohit says IFRS is the strength. Okay, got it. Any other creative answer? It's a very normal session. Any IFRS can be asked. That is a strength. Wow. Like what makes it easy for you? That would be the strength, no? Anything that makes SBR easy for you? Point, 1 mark, 1 point. Good pass percentage. Oh, so smart. Theoretical paper, calmness. Wow. Time management, easy to do. Very good. So what are the strengths? You can explain the standard and get marks. Very good. So what are the strengths of this paper is that we do not, first of all, the technical point is no 20 professional marks. Is it not a strength? Like, come on, ask the students who are giving SBL, ask the students who are giving AAA, they're totally like, man, what to write? Why 20 professional marks? Should I write in paragraph? Should I write story? Should I give heading? Should I underline the keywords? And then they remember, oh, this is not pen and paper. So point is that we do not have 20 professional marks in SBR, unlike any other paper on the planet Earth on ACCA, which is including SBL, AAA, APM, AFM, they all have 20 professional marks. And SBR is a blessed paper. So that is the first strength of SBR. But in a way, it is also a drawback. Why is it a drawback? Can anyone tell me why having no professional marks, 20 professional marks is a drawback? Any ideas? Or why do you think it would be? Need to write more. Very good, Lohit. So drawback is we have to write or we have to answer 96 marks. Unlike other papers where I have to answer 80 marker only. So in SBL and AAA, I am just answering for 80 marks. 20 are bonus points if I write in a good way, if I communicate in a good way. Otherwise, I won't get those 20 marks. But yeah, in SBR, the drawback is that 96 marks, is like I have to answer. So what is the implication of it? What would the, drawback? Like 96 marks I have to write, but then what is the drawback? Is it not that time management can be an issue? Yes, time management is the drawback here. You might not be able to manage your time since you have to write for 96 marks. So time management might become a tough spot for us in SBR. So my strength number one is 20 professional marks are not there, but drawback is time management because 20 professional marks are not there. Another strength that I believe as a tutor in SBR, I really believe that this is a huge, huge strength that, the SBR examiner is easygoing. Do you believe this? He's a little easygoing. How can we say that he's easygoing? Lenient correction, okay. Not lenient correction, but I would say that the examiner has made linear marking scheme that 1 mark for one relevant point. So this examiner has given you many easy marks. Plus, there are so many easy marks, or you can say low hanging fruits, which are available in this paper. What are these low hanging fruits? These are you can say, writing of standard knowledge. So whenever you solve ACCA case studies, whenever you solve SBR case studies, it's like you have to first state the standard and then apply it. I'll come to that. But it's a strength because then I can get my easy marks that, I'm just writing the standard knowledge and I'm getting done with it. Okay. Now, another strength which I believe in SBR we have is that it is quite handy because it is accounts. Because we are familiar with it, isn't it? We're familiar with this paper. If I today talk about debits and credits, you feel most comfortable, I believe, if you're from commerce background. I'm not talking about students who are from sciences or medical or non-medical. But if you're from commerce background, you should feel very comfortable with journal entries. You should love journal entries. In fact, that's when you know that you're at the right place. That is the commerce field. But the drawback at the same time is for some students, I believe some might have felt a FOMO here, fear of missing out, that ma'am has said that we should love journals, but we are weak in journals. How many of you feel that? How many of you are weak in journals? Journal entry, so many of you. So that's bad. You should work on them with going time, hit and trial, work on it. Okay. So work on the debits and the credits, like try to make situations in your head and try to pass journal entries related to it. So if you're weak in journal entries, SBR can be tough for you. Like it can be a little more, you can say, technical in a way that for the pre-populated spreadsheet. So this is going to be little bit difficult for the students who don't feel comfortable in journal entry. So they might struggle a little in pre-populated. So that's a challenge, that's a challenge. So we are just listing down the challenge. Then what else is the challenge in this paper? I believe application is very thorough. Like application is a task in this exam. You feel so? It's like I mean, sometimes we just totally wrongly, incorrectly, whatever the word is, we just incorrectly identify the standard. The standard they are talking about is IFRS 9, but then we think that this might be IFRS 15. I don't know how, and I don't know why, but this happens. And that happened to me as a student as well. So I believe that it must be happening with you as well. So application is a task because it's case studies are twisted. Case studies are twisted, and the identification is a problem. So it's always like we have two paths in front of us. So our mind always, most of the times, is giving us two paths. Either it will be this or it will be this. So we are always confused whether it is this or whether it is that. So that application thing becomes a little difficult in SBR. And of course, the syllabus is very vast. So syllabus is vast, and I believe for me it was a blessing because uh, at least now it is a blessing. Not at the time when I wrote the paper, then it was not a blessing at all. But right now it is because I remember all the IFRSs on my tips because I've taught it so many times. So it's like I'm very comfortable with IFRSs. So if you even when I'm sleeping, somebody would ask me what's there in IFRS 9, I'll be like, this. So syllabus is vast, but I'm not asking you to become a doctor of IFRS. Am I asking you? Are you supposed to be a doctor of IFRS? Are you supposed to be someone who is so well versed in IFRS that you are the expert that people are going to come to you? Maybe you become a freelance accountant and the companies reach out to you to ask that how to treat this, how to treat that. No, we are not. We are not doctors of IFRS. We have to just pass this paper. So the drawback is that syllabus is vast, but coverage required is 100%. So I need to cover everything at 100%, but then that 100% is a huge thing to do because, as I said, the syllabus is very vast. So that is one of the, I would say, drawback. But then coming back to strengths also that life has taught us by far, be positive. So let's be positive. Let's try to find out good in SBR. Another thing which is good in SBR is the passing mark, the passing ratio. Have you seen the passing ratio last time? 52%. Come on, jump, dance. You know what is the pass percentages of some domestic chartered accountancy courses in various countries? 1%, 2%, 3%. We have 52%. And still we think that we can't do it. Then it's very sad to know that you are afraid of a paper which has a pass ratio of 52%. So we have to make sure that we do fall into this 52%. So if 100 people are giving this paper, 52 will pass. So if 52 are going to pass, how to make sure that you are that person who passes it? So how can you make sure that you pass this paper? That is what I call as secret sauce to SBR. So how to make sure that you pass the paper. So let's discuss that. How to pass SBR. Let me give you some easy things. Okay? Few things like, I usually feel that when especially when we are afraid of a paper. How many of you have heard that the December attempt is tougher than other attempts? Anyone who's heard this? I did. Have you heard this from me only? Have you heard this from me only, or is it like a... Oh, sorry. Okay. So I am the source of it, right? Yeah. Okay. So now, if December attempt, if December attempt is a little difficult one, should we start crying and feel like that we are gone, done and dusted. Yeah. Then what to do? Now you're giving your December attempt. If December attempt was so difficult, I wouldn't have launched the course. I would have said, no, I'm not teaching in December because the paper is difficult. So the student should not sit for the December paper. Attempt while crying. Yeah, could be done. Okay. So what is happening in December is that they give you a bouncer question which can be a little more bouncer than others. Yeah, a little more bouncer than others. But this is the question which is going to help you shine out. How many of you, deep inside their subconscious mind or bottom of their heart, the way like you guys have enrolled into my course, okay? So there is 100 plus hours of content that you are ready to watch. So I believe that you should not be just someone who wants to get a 50. Do you aim to get something in 70s, maybe in 60s, yeah, 80s, yeah? You want to get that? You want to get there? This is the attempt when people get 80s. This is the attempt where people shine out. When the exam is difficult, that is when the real diamond gets tested. And I'm not telling this to motivate you. No, I'm the one who said December attempt is difficult, but I'm the one who's telling this. Most of my rank holders, most of my 80 plus students, they come from December attempt. You don't believe me? Go and check it out. I might not be having the last December's result on my portal because of obvious reasons. I was not teaching at TG Prof back then. But most of the students, they get 80 plus. I remember last December, a student got 86. Her name was Shreya. And there were like approximately 7 to 8 people who got, who were above 80. So that means people are shining out in this attempt. So what I want to tell you here is, I'm not scaring you, but I'm telling you that this is the time that when you can shine out. So please, please don't focus on things like the paper is difficult. If the paper is difficult, let me tell you, the pass percentage is better. Difficult paper means better marking. Difficult paper means you will get lenient marking. Lenient paper means easy paper means bad, harsh marking. So your marking is easy if your paper is difficult. Okay? And so now how to pass SBR in the December attempt this time is what we are going to talk about. First of all, we have to get out the fear. Get away from fear, prejudices. What are prejudices? Something like it will be difficult. Why do you think it will be difficult? Because people come and say that, ma'am, it was difficult. But actually, maybe when you see that question, you might not find it difficult. Whenever the paper happens in ACCA, there are two slots. One is the morning and one is the evening. And then those morning slot students, they come out and in very, I would say many WhatsApp groups, which I'm part of, I see people saying the paper was very difficult. And then the people who are sitting in the second half, they're crying. Their confidence is shattered just an hour before the exam. I don't know if you've seen this or experienced this or not. So whenever you are giving any exam of ACCA, not just SBR, get away from the fear and prejudices. If possible, leave the WhatsApp groups where they discuss. Even if it's a my group, okay, leave that WhatsApp group, not the paid one, because then what's the benefit of paying? But if you feel like that the students are discussing the exam, they are discussing the difficulty level, just leave that group off. On the day of the paper, 5 days before the exam, leave it. Because they really can shake your confidence. You might be a really good student, you're going to pass it, get an 80, but then one sentence that you read hours before your exam can shake your confidence to another level. Second thing that I say is, That why do I say get away from the fear? Because in life, common sense matters the most. Common sense matters the most. Now, I'm not giving you a life lesson, I'm giving you SBR lesson, of course. But in SBR also, common sense matters the most. I give you a very funny example. In fact, when I gave my paper, I said this so many times, I got DigiWire. That question you must have seen, DigiWire company. Kaplan Kit has it, where we talk about cryptocurrency. If you have any memory of it, cryptocurrency is there. Liploid was also asked in my attempt. It was in 2019, September. So in that cryptocurrency question, I failed to apply common sense. I said cryptocurrency is IFRS 9. Imagine how stupid I was. I said cryptocurrency is IFRS 9. Even if I didn't know the concept, what actually cryptocurrency is, even if I didn't know that, I should have thought a little deeper that IFRS 9 applies on something which is issued. Like loan notes are issued, shares are issued, bonds are issued, convertible debentures are issued, share options are issued. But is cryptocurrency something which is issued? Yes. Is cryptocurrency something which is issued? Is it? There's no person who's taking the liability of cryptocurrency. There is no person who is letting out the cryptocurrency or owning the cryptocurrency that this is my Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin of Reliance company. No, not that is not happening. Nobody is taking the, or giving you a proper guarantee that if you buy this, this is the money you will get. So it's a digital thing which is happening whose value increases or decreases over the period of time. Sometimes we make gains, sometimes we make losses. Yeah. Is my voice cracking? Am I audible to you? Hello, mic check. Am I audible? It's audible. All good. Okay. Awesome. So cryptocurrency is not something that I issued, but if I would have applied my common sense there, I could have passed that attempt. I could have not, of course, I passed, but the cryptocurrency question would have been better for me. I literally, failed to get that 7, or I think it was for 9 marks. I failed to get those 9 marks because I was acting dumb. So, common sense matters the most. Second example of common sense. Let me give you another example of common sense. Let's suppose there's a question. I remember there's a question where we talk about sustainable reporting. Usually they ask this question that what are the advantages of sustainable reporting? This is the favorite question of the examiner in SBR. They're always like, what are the advantages, disadvantages? What is sustainable reporting and all that? Now they ask you this question. Now there will be two kinds of people. One are parents. You know what a parrot does? Whatever you say, he says the same thing. So parrot is cramming that. Some are parrots, but some are people who understand. So if you understand the advantages of sustainable reporting and you're not a parrot, like you know, if you don't say that, okay, this was not taught in the class, I can't do this. No, why? You know the concepts. When I teach a concept, you also get a principle along with it. When I tell you that this goes via OCI, you always ask me, ma'am, why OCI? Then I always try to give you a reason that this is the why it is OCI, even though it is not given in the standard, but still I try to give you a logic. So whenever I'm teaching you, you are being taught the principle behind the concept. So even if in exam you find something strange, see that will occur to be strange because you are afraid of the paper, A. B, it will occur to be strange because you are having time pressure. Maybe after the exam, when I'll solve that paper with another batch, they might not find it strange, but you on the day of the paper would find it strange due to your own reasons. So even if in the exam you find something strange, please be commonsensical. Do not blank out. Do not blank out. On psychological level, this is the secret sauce to pass SBR. You actually have to act like a fighter. You don't know what's happening when you go in a war. You can't be like, afraid of the things. You have to act spontaneously. So you can't just stand there that, oh, I'm injured, I can't do anything, let's get another bullet in the heart. No, you have to act spontaneously. You have to fight that situation. Similarly, in SPR, whenever you think that this thing is going over my head, I don't know what's happening here. I have to be there. I have to be there and literally understand the situation and try to give my best shot. So, this is what the thing is on the psychological ground. Get away from get away from fear, get away from prejudices. Make sure your common sense is on the point. Make sure that whenever you see a bouncer question, you're not losing your mind. Okay, you're not blanking out, and you're acting like a fighter. So now next time when you're doing some super 20 question, can you exercise this? More you exercise this psychological thing, better you will be in the day of the paper. So tomorrow only we are doing an exam, past paper. Can you guys be a fighter in that? Can I expect you to be a fighter in that? Not losing our heads, not judging our preparation. Right now, your fight is with, oh, I don't know it. Oh, Jasim knew it in the class, but I never knew it. Lohit knew the answer, but I don't know it. Oh, man said this. I could have never thought about this. So, when these things come to your mind, you have to just kick that thought off. So, what if you don't know? You learn it. You're learning it. You're still preparing for it. So at this point, you're getting such judgments in your head. The day of the paper, the judgment would be like, what if I fail? What will I do? This is going over my head. I can't fight back. Your hands, I remember this happened with me in the AAA paper. Hands turn, really cold. And it's like everything, the clock is ticking and the paper feels difficult. That's the time you have to collect yourself and work on it. I'll remind you this one day before the paper as well. But today also I'm giving you this disclaimer, like I gave you 1 month before, that in November, when you'll start with Ultimate Planner, you will shatter. So again, I'm giving you a disclaimer. On the day of the paper, this moment will come, but then you have to collect yourself and come back. My voice should be there in your head when you're sitting for your exam. Okay, now come to the practical steps. On the day of the exam, what should you do? So secret sauce to pass SBR on day of exam: how to deal case studies, what to do, what is the way. Tomorrow we are exercising it, okay? Tomorrow we are actually going to do whatever steps I'm going to tell you now. So my step number one, first I'm going to actually read the requirement, or even before reading the requirement, what I'll do is copy and paste the requirement of question number one. Okay, don't ask me, ma'am, can I start with question number two? No, you can't. The best practice is in SPR, start with question number one. Because I don't want you to, go to question number three on the first minute of your paper. Then you will have to see question one on the way. You have to see question two on the way. So I don't want all that thing happening, because whenever you start your paper, they call it reading time. There is no reading time. You're not supposed to see any other question apart from question number one. The moment you get your exam, you are supposed to see question number one only. So copy and paste the requirement of question number one in the response option. Okay. Then what are you supposed to do? Second thing that you're doing is you are supposed to underline, or you can say bold, the keywords of requirement. So basically we are going to do the bolding of the keywords, that what are they asking, what are the verbs. Sometimes, for example, they usually give such a requirement that discuss and calculate the investment or the accounting treatment of foreign exchange transactions with foreign subsidiary. Yeah, that's a kind of question you might get. That maybe there's a foreign subsidiary in the question. We did one, I remember in the last few live sessions that we had in group accounts. So we did that one question from the very recent paper. So you are supposed to discuss and calculate it. So you will pay attention that this question is saying discuss and this question is also saying calculate. So don't forget to calculate or don't forget to discuss. It's very important that you understand. Sometimes they ask you to do various things in one requirement only. So maybe in the same requirement, they ask you, what is the need of translation reserve? Let's suppose they ask you this question. What is the need of translation reserve? Just a hypothetical question. So now you are supposed to answer two parts in one requirement. So translation reserve is having all those gains and losses which we get on retranslation of a foreign subsidiary, and it is kept under OCI. Why it is kept under OCI? Because this is going to happen every year. We can't make our P&L volatile by taking regular fluctuations into the P&L. So to keep it less volatile, we take it via OCI. But when we sell that subsidiary off, we do reclassify our gain from OCI to P&L, right? And plus it is not coming from business operation, of course, very good RN. So this is like you have to make sure that you're understanding that they're asking us various things in one question. They're asking us various things in one question. So make sure you don't miss out on any. That's a silly mistake which many students do. They forget to answer one part of the requirement. And when they say discuss, now many of you ask me, ma'am, what to do when they say discuss, when they say explain, or when they say, okay, for discuss and explain, I would say answer is simple. That first you have to state the standard, then apply the standard, and then give conclusion. When they ask you to discuss and explain, you can also give double-ended conclusion. What is a double-ended conclusion, anyone? Do you know what is a double-ended conclusion? How many of you remember that Lyra company question, which we did, where we talked about the amortization based on revenue? Remember that question? Amortization based upon revenue, where there we had something related to Netflix kind of a thing, where there was a platform and they said we are going to amortize this platform, these content rights. There was a content right basically, and we were amortizing that content right on the basis of revenue that we earn from it. So we gave them an open-ended conclusion. We were like, this can also be true, this can also be true. So we are being, what are we being? What is that word that we call a person who gives two sides? Not skeptical, neutral. Yeah, can be called neutral. Diplomatic. Awesome. So we are being diplomatic here. So we are not taking any sides, right? So it's a non-aligned movement. We are not taking any sides. We are like, fine, it can be this also, it can be that also. We don't care, but we know. We're telling the examiner, we know both the sides. So if this happens, then this. If this happens, then this. So when they give you such a requirement where they ask you to discuss or explain, sometimes you can, if you're not sure of it, you can give diplomatic answers, right? Then sometimes they ask you, why Let's take a normal, give me any random name. Let's take a normal, okay, progress, just messaged on the chat box. So let's take progress. Why progress is not a progress company is not a joint venture, but a joint operation. Discuss. If they ask you such a question, now in this situation, you have no chance of being diplomatic. Now you know the destination. In such a question, you know the destination. You just need to make a way to it. You know what the conclusion is. Conclusion is progress is a joint operation, not a venture. So now you don't have any confusions in your head. So you don't have to give a diplomatic answer. So you have to just make it's like a debate. You know, when we used to debate, I remember I was in the debate club and they used to give a topic and then they spontaneously used to tell you are going to speak for it, you're going to speak against it. So now that was something, even if my real point of view might have been against it, but if I get to debate on for, then I have to do it. So similarly, that's what happens in SBR also. Sometimes they ask you why progress is not a JV but a joint operation. Discuss. So now you know it's not a JV. So don't try to be smart and say no, it's a JV only. They're telling you it's not a JV, right? So that's what you have to do. And then sometimes, the question is based on calculation only. So they ask you to explain. When they say explain with calculations, when they say explain with calculations, here focus on explanation. So now you might sometimes say, ma'am, how do you know when we have to explain more and how do you know when we have to focus on calculations more? That's how I come to know. When they say explain with calculations, so that means calculation is implicitly a little secondary thing to do. So my most of the focus is on explanation. But when they say calculate and explain, now that means calculation is to be focused. So focus on calculation. And explanation comes along with it. Just like, I told you in your classes that when you draw a graph, we used to explain on x-axis, this is what I have, on y-axis, this is what I have. Similarly, in SBR also, if they ask you to calculate and explain, first focus on calculation, and then explanation is just like, why did you added this? Why did you deduct this? Which standard are you applying? Close it. So for example, here they say explain with calculation, and the question is of 6 marks. So you will allocate 4 for explanation, 2 for calculation. But when they say calculate and explain and the question is same for 6 marks, then you will say calculation has 4 marks, but explanation has 2 marks. You understanding what I'm saying? Do you understand this or not? It's in your head. It's not a proven point. It's not a fact. It's a heading, it's a judgmental thing to do. We have to be, witty when we solve a paper. We have to know the in and out of the paper. We should have the psychological things in our head as well when we are solving the paper. So when they say calculate and explain, and you feel like that this calculation is going to be tough, that's when you have to give more points to that tough calculation. And in exam, if you feel like you are weak in calculating something or might have done it wrong, and the requirement says to explain the calculation as well. Then just to be safe, give more points of explanation. Why did I say this? Because imagine a situation when, uh, you are weak in the calculation. You think that you will not get those out of six. You will only get 2 marks for the calculation. So make sure that you're giving 4 points for the explanation, or even more than four. That even if I get a one in calculation, the rest of the explanation points give me those extra marks. And how much time does it take to put one more pointer? Nothing. So if you're focusing less on calculations, then please focus more on explanation. Strike a very good balance amongst these two things, which is calculation and explanation. Are we clear on this? Do you understand this, what I just told you? This is the first step, that you have to bold the keywords, copy paste the requirement in the response option. And then I discussed with you that what kind of questions we get: discuss, explain, calculate. Sometimes you get critically analyze. So there you have to state advantages and disadvantages. Sometimes they ask you to compare. So that's also where you have to list the advantages and the disadvantages of the two things that you're comparing. Right? Okay. Next, let's talk about step number 2. What is the step number 2? Like after copying and after, bolding the keywords, then what should I do? Step number 2 is that I should now start uh, reading the exhibits. Now these exhibits should be read in order. Like always read, just a second. Yeah. So always read first exhibit for first requirement. And this is a strength of SBR, because this does not happen in AAA. This does not happen in SBL. There you have to read the full case study and then answer. But here, even if I read the first requirement and I answer the first, I get my answer through first exhibit, it will help. So now start reading the exhibit. While reading the exhibit, make sure you're not doing aimless. Do not do aimless reading. What is aimless reading? Sometimes you're blank and we're just listening to someone. How many of you are aimlessly sitting here? Because after 30 minutes of a session, our mind diverts. It happens. But then you have to bring yourself back. Similarly, in the paper, sometimes we are so much excited or nervous about it that as soon as we see the question, we just aimlessly start reading it. No, that wastes your time. Then you'll have to read the exhibit again. That's wastage of time, no? So do not do aimless reading. Always see what the requirement is saying. What has the requirement asked me? The requirement has asked me why Progress Company is a joint operation. So with that question in my mind, I will read that exhibit. And as in when I find something which is relevant from the exhibit, now my step number three is just copy and paste. So what are you doing in copy and paste? You are simply copying the relevant lines from the exhibit under the particular requirement in the response option. And if you have any implication, see whatever comes to your mind while reading the question, make sure you take note of it. Because there are higher chances that when you're fairing out your answer, you'll forget it. So simply copying the relevant lines, copy paste just helps you because it's not like you'll have to type the things out afresh. So just copy. This is a brainstorming thing which is happening. We will erase it later on. So simply copy the relevant lines from the exhibit. And then if there's any implication, if there is anything in mind which can be implication of that particular sentence, just roughly note it there and then in the response option. See, don't do it on the scratch pad because that won't help you. Scratch pad is not marked. But if you have written anything in the response option, it will be marked. So even if the time runs away, but you have brainstormed your question, you still get marks. So whatever it is there in your head, make sure you type it out, like in a rough note only, maybe in your own words only, just write it. Just copy and paste a sentence from the exhibit, which, for example, you are figuring out what is the functional currency of a company. And they have given that we pay salaries in dollars. So just copy that line, salaries in dollars. So now when you'll be ferrying out your answer, you know that this is a relevant point that I have to take into consideration. Right? Another way is you just highlight it. That is also something that you can do. Highlighting, but if you highlight it, you'll have to read that again, go back to that particular, I believe you'll have to click on that exhibit again, basically. But if you copy paste it, it will become easy. Right? So whatever works for you with time, just see whatever works well for you. You can do that. Right? Now, once you've done this, step number 4 is to actually fare out your answer. Fare out the answer. Now, what are the ways of writing good answers? First of all, in SBR, you have to state the standard, like which IFRS applies in this particular case. Then you have to state which part of the standard. Now, for example, you have a question where we're discussing about life of the asset. It's a non-current asset. So, of course, IS 16 is getting applied here. But then you can't explain what is a PP. You'll have to explain what is the rule associated with life of the asset. You remember Kate Company question? You remember Kate Company question? I gave you my own answer on Kate Company as well. We did it in one of the live sessions. You remember it? I think it's not in the live session, but I've given you a recording on it. Kate Company question with my answers. So there I told you actually that it was your assignment 1, the people who are here from the very first day, they remember it, but the post-result batch might not be knowing it. But anyway, forget about Kate. Forget about Kate. Talk about any question. If that question is talking about IS 16, you have to figure out which part of it. I'm talking about property, plant, and equipment. Further in PPE, I'm talking about life of the asset. So you need to figure out what is the rule associated with life of the asset. That is what you have to state. So whatever you state as a standard, the direct theory, that should be relevant. You can't be stating anything that you feel like you want to state. And then finally, you do apply the above stated rule to the case study in hand. So if you say that the life of the asset must be reviewed each year and life of the asset is something which is based on judgment, life of the asset is something which is assumption based, and if it is changed, it's a change in estimate. If you have written that sentence, now apply that sentence to that case study. Or in the case study, the is the examiner saying something regarding change in life? Is he saying something about accounting policies change or accounting estimate change? So figure that out and apply it with your common sense. Mix your technical knowledge with common sense here. It plays a very important role. Don't be a parrot. Don't feel like, oh, I have not crammed it, now I can't solve it. You know the concept. You might forget the keyword. You might forget the word, but you know the concept. That's how you should have been functioning by far. So if you know the concept, you don't know the word, you don't know the keyword, works well. Write it in your own language. You know the core. Sometimes I forget the word and I ask you what would be the word for it, but I know what I want to say. I know what is the concept that I want to, just communicate. So the words are something that you cram. You can forget that, don't worry, but don't forget the feeling behind it. Don't forget the concept behind it. Right? So if you are clear on the concept, if your conceptual clarity is there, you'll feel very easy to apply it. Initially, you'll feel difficult, but later on, you'll become a pro. So apply the above. Lastly, give a conclusion. Now, I'm not saying that give a heading conclusion and then conclude, of course not. But just give a conclusion that, okay, this is, let's suppose they asked you whether what is the functional currency. So you gave first the definition of functional currency, then you wrote how to figure out the functional currency, and then you applied it to the case study, that what is happening, what are the primary and the secondary factors which are getting applied in that case study. And then you finally also conclude that what exactly is the functional currency of the given entity. So that's how you actually conclude. And then always make sure, very tiny bit of the thing here, that always make sure where professional marks are not there in any requirement, not question, but requirement. Where professional marks are not there, write in bullets, write in bullet points. Now, you might not agree with me because your brain is clouded with many prejudices or judgments, maybe from previous papers. But it is very important that you understand that we write in bullet points. Because SBR examiner, as I said, is an easygoing person and he loves bullet points. You agree with me, you don't agree with me, but if you by chance trust me a little, then please do write in bullet points. Whenever professional marks are there, write in paragraphs. I'm not stopping you, you should. But why do you want to waste your energy when the examiner is expecting pointers? Then why do you want to waste your energy? Right? So that is what you have to do. Now, a very good question. Are we doing questions today? No, as I said, this is a small session where we're going to discuss case study hacks. Tomorrow we are solving a question, applying all the things that we are being taught today. Okay. Now, professional marks. Whenever we see professional marks, how to get those? What are the questions with professional marks? Can you tell me in SBR? What are the questions with professional marks? Question number 2, ethics. Second, what else is there? Joyce, you can skip that. Bounce a question. Current issue question, which usually comes in question number 4, right? Sometimes question 3 can be also there, but usually question number 4. So maybe only question number 2, part B, is having professional marks, 2 marks. And question number 4, part C, is having 2 marks. So only question 2, part B, and question 4, part C are to be written in paragraphs. How to get those professional marks? Write in paras. Be professional in your language. Have a flow in answer. Like, don't actually lose the flow of the answer. Have a flow in answer. If you don't have it, then you know, first you're talking about A and then suddenly you talk about D. No, you have to talk about A, B, C, D. So it's like your answer should be in a flow, and it should be the flow of case study. It's very important that you move in the flow of case study. Tomorrow, when I'll be solving a question with you, I'll show you how I move in the flow of case study. It's like you read a sentence, you write its implication. So if they say salaries of our employees are paid in dollars, that's the first thing which came up in the case study. I'll take that up, copy and paste it, and write the implication that this means that our, expenses, majority of the expenses of running the operations of the business are being paid in dollars, which means that dollars might be the functional currency. So it's like you have to move in the flow of the case study. Don't try to create a soup or a juice out of it. Be structural. Structural answer is very important. So you have to move in the flow of case study, which is logical. That's how you get professional marks. Right? So that's how you have to give your answers actually. State the standard, part of the standard, apply to the case study, apply your common sense there, give a conclusion, write in bullet points. But if professional marks are there, then use paragraphs. And in all the cases, give structural answers, move in the flow of question. Are we clear on these 4 steps? Yes. So first time you launch your paper, just focus on question number 1. Nobody is going to see what is tested in question number 2. I know curiosity is there, but you know curiosity kills the cat. So you are not supposed to be curious and see what is there in question number 3. Have they asked anything regarding hedging? Oh, if they would have asked about hedging, then I will just crib about it and spoil my question 1 and 2 as well. So you are not supposed to see what is tested in question number 2, 3, and 4. Let them be surprise element for you. Even if they are tough, you have to deal with them. Don't leave the exam blank. So very important for you to understand. Complete the full paper. Chances of passing are very high if exam is completed. Nothing should be left. And if I talk about specifically the pre-populated spreadsheet, now let me talk about this. So many of you have issues with it. Pre-populated spreadsheet. I see so many people, they leave it blank. It's like last time when I was doing the question with you, let me see if I have that question here. Let me figure it out. Okay. So last time when we were giving a question, the answer might be here only. Do you remember which paper was that? We did it in our live session. What was the paper? June 2024, yeah. This one. So this is the question that we did in the class. I hope my answer is also here. See how I've written the answers? This is how we write an answer. We state the standard and then we apply it. But then when I was solving the pre-populated spreadsheet, in the pre-populated spreadsheet, if you see in the requirement what they have done, in this they said adjust the pre-populated spreadsheet option to correct the draft consolidated balance sheet. And you know, whatever was happening in all these exhibits got adjusted in the second requirement. You remember this? That whatever was happening here, we adjusted it in the pre-populated spreadsheet. That's what we were doing. Whenever I was reading the exhibit, I was like, okay, this is how it impacts the pre-populated spreadsheet. When I was reading these 3 issues, I was like, okay, this is how it impacts the pre-populated spreadsheet. And even I wrote it in our Word file. So I was giving rectification entry for pre-populated spreadsheet along with the, like this was my first requirement, discuss with calculations. So see, discuss with calculations. So I'm discussing more, I'm calculating less. Can you see more calculations here? No. Discussion is more. Discussion is prominent because the requirement says discuss with calculations. So now what I'm doing here is I am discussing, but I've also made my calculations over here in the spreadsheet. I've also made my calculations, right? I remember this question was little bouncer because it was regarding foreign exchange, but we did very huge calculations. But at the end, when we were posting it to the pre-populated spreadsheet, it took us 5 minutes only. All these things we already calculated in the first requirement, isn't it? But then later on we posted it and it took us 5 minutes to post it because we already passed the journal entries now when we were reading the exhibits. So when I was answering part A, I already wrote my entries for part B. So part B, which was for 10 marks, became very easy for me. It was a blessing in disguise. I even wrote it in the class. Because whatever I did in part A gave me extra 10 marks by just posting those rectifications. So many people, they just, they feel like, oh, I've given the rectification entries here. What is the need to adjust the pre-populated? You will lose those 10 marks. Why do you want to do that? Those 10 marks are easy hanging fruits. At least post it. See, here I added 75 to my PP. Maybe if I would have, okay, I added it to the goodwill. Maybe if my figure was wrong, let's suppose instead of 75, I would have added 70. What would have been the marking scheme? If this was worth 1 mark, I would have still got half a mark because at least I adjusted something. Maybe the number is wrong, it's incorrect. Okay, I understand. You did wrong calculations. But the score for that wrong calculation has already been deducted. You still get half marks just for posting it. So please don't skip anything. There are very liberal markings which are done in SBR where you get step marks. So you get half marks for posting, even if the figure is incorrect. So even if you've calculated stuff wrong, just for the posting part that you know that my goodwill is going to increase, just for that you get half a mark. So don't leave it. Do not skip or leave it blank. Plus, become a pro in double entry, single. That means you get a pro, you become a pro in your journal entries. You should understand that there's always a dual effect on the pre-populated spreadsheet because of any adjustment. And you should know those entries. If you would know those entries, your life will become very easy. Right? So this is what you have to do for your pre-populated spreadsheet. Are we all clear till here, whatever I've discussed with you? Yes, are we all clear? Awesome. Now guys, lastly, I'll tell you how to deal your bouncer questions. Have you ever encountered any bouncer question? Can you name any bouncer question for me? Apart from the one that I just shown you? Tabasco, Kate, Halls. Very right. Very right. So all these are symbol. Yeah. All these are bouncer questions. So for example, let me show you. Let me open the exam kit. Yeah. Let me show you one of the bouncer questions. Usually in group accounts, bouncer questions are very less. It's usually question number 3. So this part is having many bouncer questions. Let's see symbol. Symbol is one of the bouncer questions. So we are not solving it. I'm just showing you the requirement. Symbol is anyway recorded and given to you. So let me just show you why I call it as bouncer. What thing leads to be, making symbol as a bouncer company question. So let me show you that. Yeah. Now this is symbol company question. First of all, they have based this whole question on cryptocurrency funds, which in itself is a complex topic. Most of us don't know how cryptocurrencies work. But then they have given you a very strange paragraph also for you to strange diagram kind of a thing also for you to make sure that you understand what is happening in this company. Then they have asked you that explain the principles of good disclosure which should be used to inform investors regarding the company's holding of crypto assets. So this is a very twisted requirement. This is not something that we've directly read. Now all the parrots will cry when they see such a question. People who've understood the concepts and have common sense can easily deal with such questions. So they are just asking you to explain the principles of good disclosure. How do you deal with bouncer questions? You pick up the keywords in the requirement. What are the principles of good disclosure? What is a good disclosure? Come to conceptual framework. Very good. Anything which is relevant, anything which is faithfully represented, anything which is understandable, anything which is comparable. See, I'm running my head in the correct direction. Anything which is verifiable, that is what a good disclosure is. All the, you know, bouncer questions are something which are a little difficult to understand. They go bouncer on your head. So if you know cricket, that's what bouncer question is. It goes over the head and you feel like, I don't know how to deal with it. That's what a bouncer question is. So what are the principles of good disclosure? So first, I understand that I have to keep these terms in my head. Now I have to relate these terms with crypto assets and the information that is given to me. So this is like, you dissect the requirement, you pick up the keyword, you relate it with a concept, and then you bridge the gap between that concept and another keyword. So first I picked up a keyword of good disclosure. I related it with the concept of conceptual framework. Then I actually am bridging the gap between conceptual framework and crypto assets. So this is how you deal with bouncer question. So even if you would have understood nothing in this question, it was just for 6 marks. Even if you would have understood nothing, just by writing these terms and explaining these terms, you could have easily got a 3 on 6 at least. But if you would have blanked out, cried, nervous, then you would have fainted. Then nothing, 0 out of 6. So what do you want to be? Which category you want to be in? 3 out of 6 or 0 out of 6? Obviously 3 out of 6. Not at all 0 out of 6. So if you next time blank out, become nervous, just imagine yourself that you're getting that 0 on 6 just because you are being afraid. Be a fighter. Fight this requirement. Right? So if you are now curious about the symbol company question, don't worry, it's part of your Super 20 questions. You're doing it as per the ultimate plan. So it is a bouncer question, okay? So I hope you now understand that how do we deal with bouncer question. It's like pick up keywords from the requirement, explain easy things first, get easy marks. If rest is unclear, just leave and move on. So just write something which at least gives you a passing mark. That's how you deal with a bouncer question. Do not get hyper or waste time on it. So don't feel like that I will fail or whatever, but also do not waste your time. Like don't try to be that super intelligent person that I will shine out and only I will be able to solve this question. No, you're not getting a trophy for it. You have to manage your time also. So don't try to dissect into that question too much. You get your easy marks. That's it. Move on. That's it. So this is what you do in SBR. So These are the case study hacks that we have learned today. And I would just say that what I have learned from so many years of my teaching for SBR, it's almost 5 years now. And as a student also, because 5 years ago I was a student as well, what I've learned is that common sense is greater than everything. That's one thing that I've learned. Second thing I've learned is do not run behind perfection when in trouble. Just get easy marks. That means a pass. And move on. Be a fighter. Whether SBR or any exam, these are the three things that I've learned. When I was giving my double A paper, I was like a perfectionist. I was like, that was my skill level, na? So I was very sentimental regarding my papers. And I was like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this. I have to write in certain way. I have to use these words. If I've missed this sentence, I'll fail. No. I write what I know. Sometimes I write it in my own words as well. But what I'm writing is correct, conceptually correct. I'm using my common sense. And sometimes when the time is running, we are not supposed to be perfect. You see the kit answers, they are perfect. You can't write them. And you're not expected to write them. Even the people who are getting 80s, they are writing to the point things in a crisp way. Maybe they're writing more to the point things than you, but they are also writing it in a crisp way. They're not replicating kit answers. And whenever you are in a sad situation, for example, you face a bouncer question, be a fighter. Fight that question. My aim is to pass. So at least I'm going to get a 3 on 6. I can't settle with 0 on 6. So I have to fight that question off. Right? So I hope you all understand that what exactly we have to do in SBR to pass this paper and whatever are the case study hacks I've just told you. Now tomorrow we are going to apply all these case study hacks and we are going to solve a full-fledged past paper. So we are solving a full-fledged past paper and this was going to happen at 7 p.m. IST because I need more time for the past paper solving. It's like we'll complete the full paper, solve it completely. So it will be a longer session. I want everyone to be there and we will solve that in the session, applying all that we have actually learned or understood today. Right? And even if you would be at work, no problems, watch the recording. Recording is always available. Watch that. Right? There is no thing known as standards which should be focused more on. Right now, everything is important for you. In SBR, you need to learn everything, maybe not that much in depth, but everything. You should know something about everything. Overview is fine, Rizwan. Questions will teach you thorough things. Yes, Gargi, that's totally fine and the correct approach. So Lohit says, I'm falling behind the planner. I'm 4 days behind. Should I push myself to do every question as per the planner or just do as much as I can? Do as much as you can. Try to cope up. That's what I would say. Otherwise, you'll have that guilt. So try to cope up as much as you can. Super 20, you can't miss on any question. One point that you write should be giving you 1 mark. So if a question is of 6 marks, you give 6 points. Please share the planner. I do not have it. It's already there on the portal as well as the YouTube also. Yes, if you are behind the ultimate planner, Super 20 should not be something, anything that you can sacrifice. Super 20 is like compulsory. Yes, Ahan. Yes, rest brainstorm is enough. That's great to know, Gargi, that you're getting courage from the videos. Yes, RBR works, Lohit. At least do few questions in like typed format, because then time management should also be something that you need to learn. Mukesh says, I need to finish 10% of the portions and small standard and current issues. I started solving exam kit. Okay. But I'm not able to answer them even after watching the videos. Any tips, ma'am? Mukesh, this is going to happen. You will always feel like that I've done something, but then I'm not able to answer the question, because I told you that theory is different from the application. So it's okay. Don't judge your preparation on the basis of it. You know the explanation, but you're not able to apply it. That's what I've understood, and that happens with everyone, not just you. Many of them are here who are facing the same issue, but this is natural. Okay, with the time you will learn to apply. It's like you have to adjust yourself. The harsh truth is, this is not a miracle which can happen. You have to adjust yourself. Every question will be new and bring something fresh for you. So take your learnings from every question rather than judging yourself on basis of your performance on that question. Okay. Is EPS important? Yes, just give an overview. Sometimes I feel when I start, I feel blank. I don't know where to start. Alicia, give your assignments, okay? Whenever you're blank, just give your commonsensical shot. I won't say best shot, but at least commonsensical shot. See what happens. See what happens. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yes, triple A session will also happen. Don't worry. Agriculture is not important for SBR, so don't worry on that. Yeah. So that's it, guys. We will end this session here, and we are going to anyway meet tomorrow as well with a past paper. I want everyone to be there tomorrow. It's a Sunday, I believe so. Yeah, it's a Sunday. So I believe everyone should be there. And whatever your doubts will be, this session is going on YouTube. Tomorrow's session, we'll have our chit chat session as usual. You can unmute yourself and speak. So let's meet tomorrow with the past paper. If you want to do pre-reading of that past paper, you can. I've written it very much in your ultimate planner, which paper we are solving tomorrow, right? So if you remember IS 33 from FR, no worries, don't watch it again. Because in SBR, EPS is more theoretical rather than calculation. Yeah. Okay. That's it, guys. Goodbye. Good night. Take care. Keep smiling. Keep studying. Try to adapt to the case studies. I'm sure you will do it. So, all the very best. Take care. Bye bye. And see you all tomorrow at 7 p.m. Take care. Good night.